Good morning, good morning to you guys. How is everyone today? It is Thursday morning at 10 a.m. and you know what time that is? It is time for her money and investing show with yours truly, Jessica Perrone. And today I am broadcasting from Washington, D.C., Georgetown to be specific. I'm here checking out colleges with my oldest daughter. Yes, I have an upcoming senior in the fall. I cannot believe it. Can you believe that I'm old enough to have a senior? Yeah, I know. So we are checking out Georgetown, George Washington, all those DC schools this week. And so I'm broadcasting live from the nation's capital. Woo woo! It's been a fun time. It's been hot. Oh my God, it's been really, really hot. But I'm not letting it slow me down, keeping the energy good. And we are actually having a really super good time. So, with that said, I am going to jump right into the broadcast today. But let me just tell you a little bit about myself. I'm Jessica Perrone, the founder of Her Financial IQ. I am a single mom of three teen girls, two of which I taught how to trade. Yes, I did. And I'm a 16-year finance veteran who's on a mission to teach women of all ages how to speak the language of money, finance, and investing in a super fun way, super energetic. I'm not fun or energetic at all. That's sarcasm if you didn't get that. But yeah, we have a great, good old time in my show, in our classes. Even on my social media pages, I really love the contributions and thought provoking blog posts I've been putting out. I don't know if you guys have seen any of those blog posts that I've been putting out, but I've been talking about like some interesting ways that maybe you wouldn't think about how to save money, right? Because we are talking about getting our financial ducks in a row so that we can get fiscally ready to start investing. So it's been another really super fun week here at Her Financial IQ. I am offering my before investing workshop through the Coco. It's going to be Wednesday, August 3rd, and you do not have to be a member of the Coco to attend. It is virtual, and so you can just sign up and take it. It is a intensive. So basically, I am bringing a 4-week class together in an intensive workshop, boot camp style. Yeah. And we're going to boot camp all of those financial ducks so that we can get you ready for investing. Last week, I was also on Seattle-based radio show. It's the Money Show. We had such a fun time. It was really super entertaining. So I'll be posting that this coming week, and you can check that out on my social media as well. Next week, I'll be posting the fall classes. So definitely keep an eye out for that. Don't miss out. Definitely join my mailing list. You can either put in the chat here to sign up that you want to get signed up. You can DM me your email address, or you can sign up on my website as well. And that way you can stay on top of any live events I'm doing and for the summer and fall. So yes, definitely go to that website and sign up. So grab those identifying investment worksheets today. I am going to be talking about some interesting industries so that we can start diversifying our identifying investment worksheet and start investigating and researching different industries besides those four main ones that we're typically looking at. Though I will preface it with some of them are still in the consumer discretionary sector, but we will be diversifying in the future outside of that. But today's has a specific reason. As I go down these rabbit holes, and I have these specific ones where I'm like, oh my goodness, I gotta talk about this. I'm seeing a trend. I need to talk about it. So those are my rabbit holes, the trends that I see, and I'm going to be teaching you guys how to see in your everyday lives. So let's get started here. So, like I mentioned, I am here broadcasting live from Washington, D.C., and I have been having such a blast with my daughter, Sophia. And my daughter, Sophia, is pretty cool. She is pretty cool, but I am still a mom, and it can be kind of embarrassing to be in DC with your mom, right? It's that whole teenage thing. And what we've kind of doing to bridge that and to have really fun time on both levels is we are renting these Lime e-scooters. Has anyone heard about these Lime e-scooters? Anyone? Don't definitely put some messages in the comments. I am on travel mode. I don't really have access to too many of the comments, but definitely start talking amongst yourselves in the comments as well. That these e-scooters are just the funnest things ever. They are. Oh my goodness. We are like zipping around the mall, all the monuments, all the schools. We're just like getting from point A to point B. So what I noticed though, and of course I noticed almost everything, was that on the Lime e-scooters was the Uber logo. So can anyone guess where my brain went after I saw that? Anyone guess the rabbit hole I went down? Yes. So of course I had to go and do research on what the relationship was between Uber and this Lime scooter that I'm just like enjoying. Honestly, I felt like a kid. I've had so much stinking fun. I really have. So this is the skinny on the Uber relationship. So way back in May 2020, they invested $170 million into the scooter rental firm. And so Uber's electric bike and scooter division actually integrated with Lime. And you can book these scooters not only through Lime, but also through the Uber app as well. Okay. So after I did that research, I started thinking about Uber and I started thinking about the seasonality of scooters. And what came to mind was usually with scooters, if you think about it, scooters are good when the weather is nice. If it's raining out, if it's snowing out, you're not really going to be into taking a scooter from point A to point B. But if it's yucky out, if it's raining or snowing, you potentially would want to do a ride share. So I was starting to think about the diversifying and seasonality of this. And I was like, wow, that's a really good idea and a really good fit. So I don't know what you guys think about it, but I am totally digging these e-scooters. And this is just like an idea of how you can identify trends that are going on around you and then get inquisitive. Say, oh, I really like this. And then you start looking into it. You see the public companies that are investable around this concept. And then you start doing your research. So this is the type of thought process that I want you ladies to start getting into too. So anyhow, I will not lie to you. It has been so hot here in DC. We get a little bit of a breeze on those scooters, but for the most part, it is stinking hot. It really is. And I am so thankful and so grateful for the AC. I'm so grateful for it. My gratitude is enormous on it. But I am slightly fearful. Is anyone else fearful of their electric bill this month? Anyone else? I'm also thinking about my water bill because as you guys know, and I've been talking about my gardens, yes, the water bill is probably going to be ginormous this month. It's just trying to save my poor little flowers from the heat. Poor flowers. Anyhow, I hear you guys talking about the AC wars that are going on in the household. Is anyone else having AC wars going on in their households? Definitely chime in on the chat here. I want to hear about that. So what I find that some of these parents are doing with their teens that want it so super cool in the house is that they are actually having their teens cover some of the electric bill. Isn't that a fabulous idea, having your teens cover some of the bills and utilities so they can see the cost of life? And the reason why this sort of appealed to me is that I even had this conversation with one of my daughters recently. So my youngest daughter, she is Miss Thing. My youngest daughter is Miss Thing. And she came up to me and she's like, Mom, I can't wait until I need to get a job so I can move out, because she says her sisters are annoying. Okay, Mom and the sisters are not cool. That is definitely one of them. Mom and the sisters are not cool, so she can't wait to move out. So I sat down with her. And I was like, okay, so these are the costs that go into a apartment or a house. And it was interesting because it's very common sense to us that an apartment, you pay monthly rent, you have to come up with first, last, and deposit. But this 13-year-old really didn't think of it in terms of that. Right? She's like, oh, I'm going to get an apartment. And she didn't have any concept of all these things. So I went through with her. Okay, so you have to come up with first, last deposit when you get the apartment. You have your monthly, rent. And she's like, oh, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money, Mom. And she's like, well, what about a house? And I'm like, well, this is how much a house costs. And then you have a mortgage, and then you have all the costs associated. She said, oh, and she dropped it. She dropped that whole thought about moving off on her own. And guess what? I am seeing trends that she's not the only one thinking about that. Well, because I'm hearing women talking about, multi-generational housing, and I'm hearing divorcees talk. Yes, so I'm hearing all of these concepts of people cohabitating, and there's reasons behind this, and some of the things that I'm seeing out there is like, for example, I see this article out of CNN. And they're covering Harvard's University Annual State of the Nation's Housing Report. And basically, their headline is that the dream of owning a home is out of reach for 4 million Americans. 4 million Americans, the dream of owning a home is out of reach. And so they are saying that the income needed to qualify for a home has skyrocketed. So you have your mortgage, your property tax, insurance payments for a median priced home of $340,700 cost $700 more per month as of April 2022 than they did a year before. And the income you need to qualify for one of these homes is actually $28,000 more, okay, than it did the previous year. And so Daniel McHugh, who's the senior research associate at the Joint Center for Housing Studies, says if the door is closing on affordable home ownership, it would lock in some significant inequalities in housing. Okay, so just to give you an idea, back in March 2022, this is just from a quick search that I did, home prices rose 20.6% year over year, which was the largest jump in 30 years of record keeping. So not only are we seeing the prices of homes, and all of us know this, right? This is no surprise to us, right? But what I wanted to point out was that there is an even more recent study on rent, right? So with rent, this report is from rent.com, which shows the average rent price as of this month, actually, from July 15th, that the national average rent price for a one bedroom is up 25% year over year. And the average rent price for a two bedroom year over year is 26.5%. What's also interesting is they made a list of the cities with the highest increases. Okay, so we have towns like Austin, Texas. Austin, get this. This is crazy. This is cray cray, as my daughter would say. 108% year over year. 108% in Austin, Texas. That's number one. Number two is Jersey City, New Jersey. That's 51.6% increase in rent. Then we have Tempe, Arizona. That's 49%. New York, NYC, baby, 41%. Salt Lake City, Utah, 40% increase year over year. Long Beach, California, 39%. Fremont, California, 38%, Richmond, Virginia, 35%, Tacoma, Washington, 32%, and Portland, Oregon, 32% year over year increase in rent. Can you believe that? So we know that housing itself is expensive, right? And we were just talking about the electric bill this month. We were talking about water bill. We were talking about all of these other costs that come with your housing, whether it's rental or mortgage. So it's no surprise that we're hearing these conversations about cohabitating. So even me, and as a lot of you know, I'm recently divorced. So I've even had this ongoing conversation with my divorcee girlfriends that we should just start cohabitating together, and then we could watch each other's kids. We could share carpools. We could share watching. We could share all these resources. I mean, it might be a little crazy, a household of actually. I think there are some shows out there, a reality show of all these divorcee moms with all their kids. I think that would kind of be funny. But I'm hearing that. I'm hearing resurrection of like Golden Girl ideas with older women coming together, living together, but also the multi-generational home movement as well. And this is the third type of cohabitating that I'm hearing about. And it's no surprise. And a lot of this started during COVID. It started during COVID. And there's a really interesting research report that I read. It's from Generations United. And they put out a study in 2021 with some of these following statistics. The first statistic, and this was surprising to me, 1 in 4 Americans live in a multi-generational household. And then they go on to say that multi-generational living nearly quadrupled in the past decade, with the pandemic playing a strong role. These two statistics were kind of surprising to me. They go on to say that nearly 6 in 10, or 57%, say they started or are continuing to live together because of the COVID pandemic. And about 7 in 10 of those currently living in multi-generation households plan to continue doing so long term. So once they started doing it successfully, these multi-generational households have said, you know what, we're going to go ahead and continue doing this. And hey, Adina, I know that you're doing the cohabitating thing, with your, so tell us how that's working out for you. What are some of your success stories there? If anyone else is living in a multi-generational household, put it in the chat and tell us how it's working out for you. But one of the reasons why I'm bringing this up is that it's a conversation that I've been hearing you guys have about having a way to buy property, pulling resources together and being able to invest in a home that you wouldn't be able to invest in by yourself. I've been hearing you guys talk about that in our chats, but here are some other causes for forming multi-generational households. Okay. And so they go on to say, like, elder care, 34% are talking elder care. Elder care is expensive. It is. Elder care is expensive. Childcare, educational needs, 34% of them said that. Job loss, change in job status, or underemployment would be 30%. Healthcare costs for one or more family members was 25% of the reasons for multi-generational households. Also, it was interesting, and I thought about this, is also cultural and family expectations. There's a lot of cultures out there where it's the norm. It is the norm for all the generations to live within a household together. And then the last one would be educational and retraining expenses, and that would be about 23%. So what are the benefits? What are the benefits of multi-generational homes? Well, we talked about, being able to pool their resources together to buy a house that they wouldn't be able to do on their own. And the study also talks about enhanced bonds or relationships among family members. And that's actually 79% of them said that. They also said making it easier to provide care needs for one or more of the family members, improve finances for at least one family member. And I would say it would improve being able to pool your resources together would improve finances, not just for one, but for all. And if you think about that, that could be pulling for utilities, pulling for, again, a mortgage and investing in a house, pulling for subscriptions. If you guys are all in one house, you can all use the same Netflix account, right? Yeah. So like things of that nature. So you are able to pool your resources and consolidate expenses. You can do it that way. So, and then it talks about improved impacts on personal, mental, or physical health. I don't know if I necessarily agree with one of those. I mean, I could definitely live with my sisters, but sometimes I think about the parents, and yeah, that's kind of interesting. You have to have I feel like you have to have a really good relationship with not only like your parents or your spouse's parents or whatever that is. So, in order to do that. And then it also makes it possible for at least one member to continue their school or enroll in job training. Yeah, like that's another thing to think about. Like if you are going to school, and especially for those that are trying to keep their financial ducks in a row, trying to keep budgeting, not have incurred extra costs while you're going in school, then living at home while you go to school would definitely allow you to prevent from going further into debt, right? Because if you are a student, you don't have as much income and you try to rent an apartment or you're trying to stay in dorms, right? Well, that's extra cost that you would have to pay for. So if you cohabitate, if you have the multi-generational housing, then you would be able to save on those costs as well. So this multi-generational living, they have actually 10 tips on making it work. I can't actually put it in the chat. Anyhow, go to the website. Hold on, let me find it here. Go to Generations United. They have this research report. They have everything on tips and the facts of multi-generational housing. So could you do it? That's going to be my question of the week, and we're going to put this out on social media. Could you do multi-generational housing to save money to get your financial ducks in a row so that you can start building your wealth? Could you do it? Could you do it? Put it in the chat. Let me know. And keep an eye out for that conversation on my social media. So I know that a lot of us have been talking about housing, right? It's a big cost in our day to day. It's a huge cost. So what I also wanted to do for you guys was bring in the concept of home builder stocks into this chat. So we're talking about housing. So I thought it would be kind of interesting because it's not necessarily something that us ladies would think about. Like, yeah, I know all the home builder stocks out there, right? Well, when you think of it, and again, grab the identifying investment worksheet, because if this is a concept that you're interested in investigating and learning more about, you definitely want to be able to write down these concepts as well. So home builders are basically those large companies that are building new housing. Okay. And remember, though, with these types of stocks, they are sensitive to high interest rates because the interest rates could in turn affect mortgage rates, which in turn affects the purchasing power of the individual, as we were just talking about earlier when we were talking about how much more salary people need to be able to afford these houses at higher interest rates and also higher costs. So they are also sensitive to input prices of commodities like steel, lumber, aggregates like cement. So all of these items, I mean, if you think about all the commodities, all the things that go into building a house, I mean, it all goes down to those materials, right? And also they are dependent on supply chain issues. If they're having a hard time getting all those items to the house, I remember even during COVID, like trying to get wires for electrical or like certain parts and pieces were really super hard. So they are super sensitive to the supply chain issues as well. They are also sensitive to labor costs. And I was thinking about this. I was also thinking about this today. I was thinking about weather, right? So just talking about weather sensitivities for that scooter business. So this could also apply to your home builders. If it's raining out, maybe you can't do out exterior work. If it's super cold out, again, hard to do exterior work or even interior work because they don't have any heat. And then we also have the heat issues. If it's too hot, it's also hard to get that project moving. So those are some things that you want to think about when you are considering home builder stocks as well. So what I did was I did a quick search on the home builder industry. And also keep in mind that these are consumer discretionary stocks as well. So yes, it is the home builder industry within the consumer discretionary sector. And I just did a quick sort, nothing else. I didn't do any other analysis on these stocks. I just did a quick search by market cap because we know that I like to look at primarily extra large, large, and mid cap companies. So our top three by market cap are Dr. Horton, that ticker is DHI. We have Lennar Corporation, that is LEN. And we also have NVR, ticker NVR as well. And you can definitely, there's a whole slew of home builders out there. But I wanted to show you how when you see different concepts, you can go into that industry group and start thinking about those companies, start investigating, and also start thinking about the trends that potentially could move those investments as well. Now, I talked about these individual home builder names, and of course, where do you think my rabbit hole went next? I started thinking about ETFs. Yes. So what you can do is you can either, when you're thinking about these concepts, yes, you can invest in the individual companies, or you can look for a thematic ETF. So thematic ETFs are ETFs, so a basket of companies, a basket of stocks that are based on a theme. So you can have any different type of theme. And these are just different types of baskets of stocks, of companies, all in the same industry group, sector, etc. So if you are interested in, say, semiconductors, like the chips within a computer, you can find a semiconductor ETF. It can be super good way to diversify your monies over various companies in an industry that you're interested in without having to figure out that one player that's going to be the winner. However, because thematic ETFs typically have the same industry group in it, you do have to be careful, right? Because it will go up or down based on all the companies in that basket. So, for example, any of the items that we talked about that would affect a single home buyer stock would also affect the overall ETF. So, with that said, when you think about ETFs and you think about diversifying your overall portfolio, think about that thematic ETF as a stock in that one sector. Does that make sense? Because an ETF does trade similarly to a single stock as well. So just think about that when you're investing in the ETFs. Okay. So what I did was I brought up two, and again, what I did was I like to look at ETFs that have a lot of assets under management. So I just did a quick search for, yes, what did I do? Home builder ETFs, just quick Google search, yes. And then I found this site, and I think it was like some sort of ETF site. They had a list of all the home builder ETFs, and I toggled that by assets under management. It's very helpful to have a company that hosts an ETF with lots of assets under management. Okay, the longevity of it, yes, the longevity of it is typically better. So what I did was I found the two largest home builder ETFs, and the first one is the iShares U.S. Home Construction ETF. It has 1.29 billion under management, and that's ITB. And then we have the Spider S&P Home Builders ETF, and that ticker is XHB. Remember, you can actually invest in these companies in your retail broker, like your TD Ameritrade, your E-Trade, your Schwab, your Fidelities of the world. You can actually put these tickers in and trade them just like a regular stock. Yeah, and that's another reason why ETFs can be a super interesting way to diversify your portfolio. So ETFs, so home builders. Okay, where do you guys think I'm going to go next? Where do you think I'm going to go next? Okay, so after that, I started thinking about how we were talking about rental properties, right? And how rentals have increased in price as well. So, of course, I started to think about apartment REITs. Yes, I started to think about apartment REITs. So, housing and apartment REITs would be underneath residential REITs. There's actually 5 categories. Oh, there we go. 5. Wait, can you say 5? There we go. Yeah. There's actually 5 categories of REITs, and the one that we're talking about today is going to be residential REITs. And according to Investopedia, these are REITs that own and operate multifamily rental apartment buildings as well as manufactured housing. Okay, so manufactured housing are the ones that are done like offsite. They're built offsite and then transported to the property. Yeah. So when you are looking at these types of REITs, these are some of the factors that you should be considering. And again, I got this from Investopedia. If you want to read more about it, definitely Google it up. The whole article was completely intriguing, and I would definitely recommend checking this article out. So, but these are the points, and they're really great points that they make about what to look at when you are looking at these residential REITs. So the first point they make is that the best apartment markets tend to be where home affordability is low to the rest of the country. Okay, so places like New York and Los Angeles, where the high cost of single homes forces people to rent and drives up the prices landlords can charge each month. And that's what we're seeing, right? That's what we're seeing across the US. We're seeing housing prices increase, and therefore the price of apartments increase, which in turn, yes, is good for these apartment REITs. So then they bring up another point here, which is within each specific market, investors should look for population and job growth. Generally, where there is a net inflow of people to a city, it's because jobs are readily available and the economy is growing. So another point they're making here is a falling vacancy rate coupled with rising rents is a sign that demand is improving. As long as apartment supply in a particular market remains low and demand continues to rise, residential REITs should do well. And what's also interesting is that the very advantageous Jim Cramer, all the way back in April, yes, the seer of them all, Mr. Jim Cramer from Mad Money on CNBC, actually brought this up way back in April. I found an article where he was saying way back in April that it's a potential opportunity for investors to cash in on skyrocketing rent prices with these four top apartment REITs. Yeah, so he was thinking about this already. And the four that he was talking about and was recommending here, the first one was Independent Realty Trust, that's IRT, American Campus Communities, that's ACC, Avon Bay Communities, that is AVB, and Camden Property Trust, that is CPT. C as in Charlie, P as in Papa, and T as in Tango. There we go. In case you misunderstood me. Now, lastly here, I saw an interesting trend. I saw another interesting housing trend, and I got this from Bloomberg. They published an article on this on 7/14, and they were prefacing this as a sleepaway camp for previously urban professionals. Okay, so this is the article. Let me read it to you. And they go on to say, pandemic startup Kift sells a very of the moment mashup of Airbnb, WeWork, and co-living on wheels. Essentially, RV parks with better branding, friendlier neighbors, and amenities. Instead of traveling alone, small group of van life travelers live together around one building with a kitchen, long tables, fast Wi-Fi, and for new nomads not ready to give up their indoor plumbing, there are showers and several toilets. Yeah, so isn't that neat? So basically, there is one building with workspaces where you can go in and work and have a communal environment. And then off of that, you can park your RVs or whatnot. Isn't that kind of cool? Yeah, so if the kids are going crazy in the RV and you need to get out and work, you can get out to the center building and start working. Brilliant idea. And it's funny because that is also the setup that we were thinking about for us divorcee ladies, having like a clubhouse where everyone has their meals together, everyone studies, and then little houses around there for all the divorcees and their individual kids. Yeah. So if anyone wants to develop this idea, reach out to me. I have the whole plan in my head of the divorcee lady communities. Oh, geez, the things that go on in my head, right? Okay, so headline of the day, also out of Bloomberg. This is on 7/14. It has to do with Prosecco. So they're talking about Bellini-filled brunches are driving demand for Prosecco to new heights in the U.S. Imports of the Italian sparkling wine posted a 40% increase in 2021 over pre-pandemic levels, with the younger consumers particularly enamored with it, as they still find wines a bit intimidating and stuffy. And they go on to say that it doesn't hurt that it's often cheaper than its French counterpart, champagne. So that leads us into the quote of the day. I like to leave you guys with some inspiration so that you can continue on with a pep in your step and a little bit more muscle. So my quote of the day for you is from Serena Williams, the powerhouse herself, and it goes, I am lucky that whatever fear I have inside me, my desire to win is always stronger. Let me repeat that for you. I am lucky that whatever fear I have inside me, my desire to win is always stronger. Yeah, yes, yes, Katrina, you feel that one too. Absolutely. And that is my wish for you, that your desire to achieve financial wellness and grow your wealth is greater than any fear you may have inside you when it comes to talking about money, finance, and investing. I am amazed at the community that we are building of women committed to financial health, growth, and financial freedom. Yes, financial freedom. You may be overwhelmed about getting those financial ducks in a row. It's hard and it is scary, but it is baby steps and you can do it. You're doing it right now just by being here today. And should you wish to take your money and investing journey outside the Her Money and Investing Show, sign up for my mailing list and be notified of upcoming interviews, panels, workshops, classes, and the announcement for my upcoming self-directed courses. I'm Jessica Perrone, founder of Her Financial IQ. You've been watching the Her Money and Investing Show. May the markets be in your favor. Bye now. Thank you so much for coming. It was great seeing you guys. Stay cool out there. Stay safe. Woo woo. Bye.